have seen one question that says, how can we apply the translational genomics for crop improvement in developing countries? Because there is limited infrastructure. So I think maybe if you might have seen in my presentation, I clearly mentioned for using these resources, you need not to have facility there. For example, sequencing, that's very cost effective. You can choose the best service provider. For high throughput genotyping also, you can get best price, low cost effective genotyping facilities. And each crop we have those assay developed and in public domain. For groundnut, suppose we have developed 58K SNP assay and it is freely available, basically accessible to everyone. They can directly contact to the service provider, they can pay and they can use it. So nothing, no restriction. And then like Intertech, that is like HTPG project. Anyone in the world can use it in just $1.5 10 SNP. So you can get access. What I mean to say here, there is no limitation. Now the technology has come that we, especially from CGR, we encourage those technologies which becomes accessible even by the breeders or researchers sitting in the remote areas, because we work with our African countries and we need this. So that our focus is more on that. Uh, Then second question, it comes in genotyping platform. What is the most advised or efficient means of trait mapping? Again, if it depends on the basically crop. Suppose if you are working in rice, wheat, you can see many chips are available. And for mapping, I will say that you can use FE or Illumina or whatever. Like I'm not mentioning for advertisement, but whatever assays basically available, you can see the cost and you can use those. It is accessible to all, and you can use for trait mapping. For genomic selection, if here selection means genomic selection, then I will suggest mid density assay. That will be the best one if it is available in crops, because that will be below $10 or so, and the high density will be above 50 or $60 per sample, so costlier than that one. And if you are selection, if you are meaning by marker state selection, foreground selection, then I would prefer to go for Intertech, where you can get in $1.5 10 samples. So no need for DNA isolation. Just from field, you send samples and you get your data. Okay. Now here is one question that is from Debosmita, I think. When do we use dominant marker and when do we use recessive marker, which is more efficient and why? So it's not about efficiency actually. These dominant and recessive markers, they have basically different kind of nature of identifying those alleles. It depends on the population you are screening them. If you have a recessive allele basically, and then you are doing in F2s, because I am giving example F2s because you have like homozygous, even recessive alleles, and then all those things, something. So you can use those kind of, I will say SNP is the best choice irrespective of your using. These are very much working and cost effective. So I don't think that there is issue now. This was the earlier days when we were discussing about this dominant and other things, when RAPDs, RFLPs, and the others, AFLP, all those coming into picture. But nowadays, everybody is shifting to it. I don't think that is a issue. You have question your most improved varieties groundnut that you can recommend for farmers. Again, like one like solution, it does not fit for all. So basically, it depends on which region you are. So most of the varieties, they are actually being released to targeting some countries. So you can look for basically the African. Suppose if you are in Africa, we can get connected to our African breeders. They can suggest the best variety for a particular nation. If you are talking about India, again it differs from state to state. So I cannot say that I recommend one variety and then you can go it. So okay. There is one question here. Are there any genome editing based advanced breeding programs in groundnut at Acrisat that can significantly reduce the number of it? Right now, I will say that there is no basically report. Basically, we have that there is some product based on the genome editing, but of course, this is one of the area our scientists she is working basically on that, and hopefully in future we may have some products. So because this is an emerging area that we have to work basically. But if you ask me, I don't work in this area, but this is a very beautiful area. I think if I get opportunity, definitely I would like to learn it. Uh, Again, it's a question from Tefra, I think, who asked which genotyping is appropriate, affordable, cost-effective for developing country researchers. Uh, I think again it's basically again crop, and then again I mentioned three kinds of technologies. It's high density chips if you have access to. If you have access to GBS, if not, then GBS you can use it. It's not much costly. And then if you are using marker state selection, then you can use Intertech facility, because there are many labs of Intertech across globe, and you can access those labs in just $1.5. So I would suggest to for these technologies. And mid density assay, I think in only 1 or 2 crops it is being developed. So in 2-3 years it will be developed in other crops, so will become available. So what I'm saying basically, having the best, you can just see if you crop, if you want some crop, if a specific name, you can just message me. I can connect to those people. They have something, the appropriate resources source from where you can get genotyping services. I can help you. And there is one platform that is called Excellence in Breeding, that is from Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and it takes care of compilation of all these resources. So you can go to these websites and access. If not, of course, you are free to contact me, and I will connect to those people. There is one question that is planted in groundnut in Philippines. So of course, any plant can be planted there, but I feel there the emphasis is more on rice and other crops. But of course, yes, if you see, and farmers don't grow until they get a profit. So if they get more profit from groundnut, of course. But yes, many of the Southeast Asian basically countries, they are growing it. Myanmar, I know, basically. Yeah, I think you have to see how profitable it is for you. Of course, you can try. So now another question is like yield of groundnut. So again, it differs from region to region. If you go to US, yeah, you can get higher yield, even 10 tons or so per hectare. But if you talk about in India, average yield will come around 1.7 tons per hectare. Why? Because each state has different soil types and climate. India, although it's basically a one country. If you see states, there are a lot of diversity in that. And if you see like few states, I will name like Telangana and say Andhra Pradesh. Here you get less than 1 ton. Because of that, maybe the productivity, national productivity is less. But if you go to Gujarat, if you go to Tamil Nadu, even Rajasthan, you can get even 3 to 4 tons per hectare in groundnut. So it depends. It depends. So basically on the soil type and the, of course, the practices, field practices you do. So basically, how can we work on this in collaboration in Ethiopia? I feel in Ethiopia, I have not seen much interest for groundnut. Of course, chickpea is there. I know that Wikisat is having good collaboration and even breeder there in Ethiopia. But of course, if you are interested, you can just contact their ICRISAT, and then definitely we can have collaboration. If you want to collaborate with me, you just send me message. So there is no issue on that. I will be happy to collaborate. Okay, I think
Yes, sir.
no more
The
question. I
question,
think so.
yes,